The story begins on a somewhat sad note, with the news of a boy who had been trapped in a warehouse for 12 years. The police are there, along with the man who took the kid when he was just 6 years old, and was never seen again. The man is taken through the crowd as everyone keeps asking about the crime. Meanwhile, one of the warehouse doors is broken open, and inside, they find a man standing still with a book in his hand. Surrounded by books, the long-haired man is reading a book about brain science, and the investigators comment that, judging by the signs of abuse on his body, he was probably the victim. The scene shifts to the hospital, and from what is being said, many people want to get in to interview the boy lying in bed. The doctors state that his name is Shin Woo-jin and he is 18 years old. The standing doctor informs them that the boy is malnourished, has several inflammations and some external injuries. However, the boy remains there, saying nothing. The female doctor thinks he is very handsome and it's a shame he was trapped and forced to work for 12 years. The standing doctor then mentions that it seems he has suffered some hearing loss. She sighs and then writes on a piece of paper, asking his name and whether he can speak out loud. He glances outside, and she asks him to say what he is called. The boy responds that he is called the son of a very hard-working mother. Sometime earlier, under the scorching sun, Shin Woo-jin was working while the man sitting on the grass simply watched. A while later, the man threw a bucket of rice into the bookroom and the boy ate desperately. It was during his moments that he was called by that beautiful name. The boy sat there, trembling among the books, when a cockroach passed by, and he immediately grabbed it to eat. Back at the hospital, the doctor is shocked that the boy refers to himself like that, and they already start wondering how much brainwashing he went through. With the countless scars on his body, it was impossible to understand how much he had suffered. The bastard who did this deserved to be executed. However, with the results in hand, the doctor says that they were not as bad as expected. She touches his shoulder, telling him he can sleep as much as he wants because now he is safe. Then she says she will be back soon, and the doctor tells her to be careful with the people outside. As she shuts the door, she sees the police blocking a bunch of nosy reporters. Everyone wants to know the patient's name, his story, and his condition. She is furious at these vultures just trying to profit from someone else's tragedy, and orders them all to leave the hospital and stop trying to make money off other people's suffering. She instructs the officer to check everyone's credentials to ensure they are authorized to be there. The reporters stand there looking like fools, desperate to get an interview. Meanwhile, our boy is lying in bed like a mummy sleeping. He glances at the ceiling, thinking, that must be the famous fluorescent light. Looking to the side, he notices something on his arm and a room in the background, which must be the bathroom. Then he notices the old man in the other bed, who realizes he is being watched. The man asks if he is the kidnapped boy, and comments that his life must be quite strange. However, he doesn't seem to care and says that his life might become even more difficult now. Our boy is a bit confused, and looks at the man's ID card, which reads Kim Nam-sum, 57 years old with an open femur fracture. He notes that the man is 1.67 meters tall and weighs 67 kilos. The skin on his hands and arms is dry and rough, indicating that he works in an environment where he is constantly dehydrated. The old man is there, calmly enjoying himself while Gu notices that he has no watch or ring marks, not interested in accessories, does physical labor, and has no wife. Judging by the location of the fracture and considering all these details, this man was doing plastering work when he fell from a low height. Since he didn't even have time to use his hands to grab onto anything, his brain automatically sent a signal for him to try to brace himself with his leg. Obviously, the kinetic force was far greater than the bone's resistance, causing the fracture, with the femur breaking forward. He envisions the scene and begins thinking about the exact treatment that should be applied. However, when he glances to the side, he sees that the doctor has returned to the room, bringing some food for him. She approaches, asks if he's hungry, and tells him to take the spoon, saying it'll be easier this way. She was observing from the corner of his eye, noticing the fine lines forming around her eyes. The muscles in her cheeks were contracting and lifting slightly. Additionally, the corners of her mouth were symmetrically rising. Considering all of this, that was the so-called genuine smile. Not only did it show that the person had good intentions, but it also indicated there was no threat at that moment. He then takes the spoon from her hand and stares at the food. The man nearby clears his throat, about to tell him to eat calmly. But it's already too late. He has started devouring everything. She asks him to slow down, but before she can insist, it's already gone. The plate is completely clean, even the last grain of rice. He makes sure to pick up and put in his mouth. The doctor looks at him sadly, unable to understand how he lived like this. Just then, she receives a phone call and someone informs her that Ji's family has arrived. She turns to the boy and tells him that his father and mother have come by. Watching her mouth movements, he is able to read the words. He remembers that father and mother are related to something called family. The woman asks if she should bring them in, but before he can answer, she has already left to get them. Clearly, there was no need to ask. Our boy watches her leave, then glances at the clock and starts counting the seconds until they arrive. He counts from 1 to 10, then 30, 1 minute and 10, 1 minute and 20. Suddenly, something inside him seems to awaken his hearing. Some kind of energy surges through Shin Woo-jin's head, and he doesn't know what's happening, but it feels like letters are raining down. He is still caught up in counting the numbers when he starts noticing people approaching outside. His hearing is so sharp that he can clearly distinguish the figures and the conversation taking place. A single footstep on the floor sounds like an explosion next to him. Startled, he sits up and hears them discussing the patient's stability, and whether that should be the priority. They agree that they need to ensure Shin Woo-jin doesn't get scared. Then, they announce that they are entering, and our boy sees a couple. The father and mother stand there recognizing the boy, while he, clearly confused, does not understand what is happening. But they immediately run to him, calling his name, saying they missed him so much, and embracing him with happiness. His mother apologizes, and both parents thank him for finally coming back. However, it is too much noise for someone who has just started hearing again, so he pulls away from them. They keep trying to talk to him and some time passes. The scene shifts to the city. Inside Shin Woo-jin's family home, his sister tells their mother that she has already cleaned everything. She remembers that he was a kind of genius and wonders how strange it will be for him to return like this. She only has a few memories of when he was little, but she recalls that he was strange. She is amazed that he is alive after working in that place for 12 years. She is certain that if she had gone through that, she wouldn't have been able to be normal either. Remembering the hospital, she felt relieved to know that he hadn't lost his hearing. Just then, the door opens and their mother enters, saying that she brought brother home. The two walk in and their father looks back, telling the boy to come in. Our boy steps inside, looking clueless, unable to understand anything. His sister welcomes him, and he looks around, clearly sensing how peculiar the situation is. He glances at the pictures on the walls, and his father tells him that he must feel lost after being away from home for so long. He shows him his old room and asks his sister to help him settle, and she seems hesitant and unsure, but their mother tells her to help the boy while the parents cook. The two go to the room, and she can't stop noticing how strange the situation is. Shin Woo-jin starts scanning his surroundings, so misses the so-called bed, the so-called window, the so-called PC, and the so-called chair. Considering all of this, this must be the place known as his room. His sister then calls him. When he turns around, she sees the boy practically glowing and wonders why he looks even more handsome than he did in the hospital. She grabs her phone and says she will teach him how to use it. She explains that it's turned off and shows which button to press to turn it on. She shows him their mother and father's numbers, and tells him that she will delete her own so that he can learn to type it himself. He responds that he understands, but in a formal and archaic way, like something from a history book. She tells him he doesn't need to be so formal with her, but he replies with the exact same wording. She feels a bit sad, realizing that he doesn't even know how to use different words, but she hands him the phone. She then asks him to add her number, and immediately he is clicking away, typing smoothly. She is impressed that, with just one explanation, he was able to turn on the phone, navigate everything, type the number, and save the contact. She comments that her brother really does seem as intelligent as ever. Then, he says he will teach himself how to use the internet. He clicks on the magnifying glass to zoom in and explains that he can search for anything he's interested in. The first thing our boy types is family. The internet defines it as a group of people related by marriage, blood, or adoption. He clicks on some images and sees pictures of people that look AI-generated. Then, he looks at his sister, whose eyes are shining as she hears him say the word family. However, the boy doesn't seem very emotional about it. He's just discovering things. Suddenly, he catches a scent in the air and wonders if this is what they call perfume. He recalls that in history, such fragrances were used in ceremonies for human communication. Nowadays, it's a mix of various solvents intended to create pleasant smells. He gets up and starts walking toward the kitchen, ignoring whatever his sister is saying. There, he sees his parents cooking, preparing a feast. He realizes that the scent wasn't perfume, it was food. His mother tells them to sit down because it's time to eat. And I think our boy might have a little touch of autism, just saying. The family sits together, happily eating and trying different dishes. However, the scene shifts completely to someone stating that a certain person's family died 5 years ago, one person each year. First, the wife, then the mother, then the sister-in-law, poisoned by herbs, followed by 2 close acquaintances and neighbors. This is being said to the man who kidnapped Shin Woo-jin, who insists that it wasn't him. The officer slams the table and says that all these consecutive deaths surround him, so it's clearly him. But the man keeps insisting that it wasn't him and warns the detective that it might have been that bastard who kills everyone. The officer asks who he's talking about, and the man slams the table again, saying it was the bastard he gave food and shelter to. That kid was the one who killed everyone. Man, now I'm scared, could it really have been Shin Woo-jin? The officer tells him to stop yelling, but the man just says that they have. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for the next part. Let's hit our goal of 100 likes, your support means the world. Smash that like button and stay tuned for more epic content.